getting ready for Iowa State right now. On the offensive line, they're going to have their hands full to try and make sure they can create a running game and also protect the quarterback. They've done a pretty good job so far. You look at the starters on the offensive line: Trey Hopkins at the right tackle, Mason Walters at right guard. Dominic Espinosa has really been a pleasant surprise for Texas, and as Ahmad has talked about all season long, really Stacy Searels wanted to get the best 5 guys in there. So he was going to mix guys around. David Snow, who was the center, has now moved to guard, and Trey Allen is in there as well. As we are inside the bubble here, we're going to show you 6 periods for the hour-long edition of Texas practice. You see Stacy Searels right there, and boy, you get a close-up of his hat. That is an old ball coach hat. You know, I mean, you would think he's been coaching here for about 11 years. This is his first year here, but it's worn out. He's already worked it. He's already worked it pretty well.
You got to love it. And the O-line certainly loves it. And, you know, you mentioned this group. I think this week they're going to have their hands full with Mr. Patrick Neal, the defensive end there for Iowa State. He's 6 foot, 250 pounds, and he is a speed rusher.
Right.
That's all he does. And last year, he had 6 tackles over Texas and certainly had some quarterback hurries. And the man that will be responsible for making sure he's under control will be Trey Allen at that left tackle spot. And it's going to be very important that they learn how to deal with this. This will be his first time taking on a player of this size with this speed, and it's just a great way to mix it up. Texas does not have a player that's 6 foot coming off the edge.
Right.
And as you're training and you're going one-on-one.
How is that different as opposed to going up against a Jeff Cota or an Okafor?
Well, first and foremost, he's all about speed. So he's going to try to hit that edge on you. Now, he's 250, and his bench press is certainly impressive for his size. However, he's a guy that's going to use spin moves. They're going to put him on. They're going to stunt him on the inside. You're going to have to chase him down. He's not going to run into
Those
big
guys aren't
Trey Allen. Trust me.
Allen, right.
Yeah, he's going to avoid him at all costs, and that is going to allow Trey Allen and this offensive line to have excellent communication, something that Trey Allen said yesterday after practice that is really starting to get better on this offensive line. They're gelling together, and he specifically talked about the communication, and the more reps they see, the more snaps they see, absolutely helps them improve and be a better product on Saturday.
That was Trey Hopkins and Mason Walters, and you see Stacy Searels. This is one of those where you see stunts. We've seen this drill a couple times where you see stunts, and it is about communication. You always say, obviously, the most important guy to pick up first is a guy who's coming inside. Closest route to the quarterback.
No question. And that is where you want to be strong at, and you can see Coach Searels now taking his offensive lineman through it and then just coaching them up. Mason Walters there also. And that tandem is going to be vital because, as we talked about, what does it do? It it protects also the front side of Case McCoy, which is also important. Sometimes you can get caught up there, and his natural tendency is to come out of the pocket right. Why? Because he's a right-handed quarterback.
Right.
So you want to keep players out of his face there and always allow him that edge if he needs to get there and to be effective. Moving right.
Well, that's one thing to think about, too. Neal, as you mentioned, will be lined up on the right as the right defensive end going up against a left tackle, Trey Allen. That is going to be Case McCoy's blind side. So when he is flushing right, he will not feel that pressure from behind. It's important that he continues to show the pocket presence that he showed against UCLA. Well, let's go ahead and check out your favorite position right here, the Texas defensive backs. And there he is, longtime defensive coordinator. We talked to him, defensive backs coach, I'd say. Dwayne Aquina was a quarterback at Washington, backed up Warren Moon. Still likes to throw it around. Now, if you hear this right now, they're going to pump in some noise for the offense while they practice, but you're taking a look at the DBs and what they can get done. Christian Scott will be back in this game. Nolan Brewster out for his career. And you know, I was on the field for the BYU game, and Ahmad, you were as well. You saw Brewster came up, made some nice run plays. You felt like he was starting to come into his own and was a guy who could really be counted on as maybe that fifth back. And in current college football, as you know, you play 5 or 6 DBs at any time. You need 7 or 8 now. So Christian Scott will be back in. What's the most important thing? If you miss 3 weeks, what does Christian Scott need to make sure that he's caught up with for this Iowa State game?
Endurance.
Okay.
Bottom line is endurance. And this young man has trained, and trust me, the training staff, Benny Wiley, they've watched him. But you just never know what it's like until you get out on a football game and you forget what those 50, 60, 70 reps even could be like. And depending on when he plays in this ball game, you'd think that He'll come in at some point as they're rotating their safeties. Now, they have him backing up, of course, right now on the depth chart, Blake Gideon. But you would also expect him to get some reps up there at the strong safety spot with Kenny Vaccaro, and where Adrian Phillips have also occupied that particular position. And the one thing that's been so impressive about this secondary, you look at where they rank as far as their passing efficiency rating, 4th in the NCAA. Now, for some people, you're going, what does that mean? And that exactly is just what it compares as. It's a formula that I'm not smart enough to figure out. But
I was about to ask you. I'm with those people. What does that mean?
The gist of it is basically yards per attempt and also the touchdown to interceptions ratio. Those are the two main that figure into the formula. And you look at it. This secondary has only given up 1 touchdown through the air, and their yards per attempt is very low. But they'll have their hands full this weekend. You and I were talking about a wide receiver that scored a touchdown.
Darius Reynolds.
Indeed. In this game last year, he's 6'2", 208 pounds. He's got 13 receptions, 240 yards, and he is averaging a whopping 18.5 yards with 4 touchdowns. Let me tell you something. They have to prevent him from making that big play. If they can keep him in front, wrap up, tackle him with force. And when you hit him, you drive him into the ground, and you make his day long and painful. That is how you control a wide receiver with his talent. This secondary is going to have their hands full with that young man.
How do you think a guy like Carrington Bynum, who's also big, will match up with the bigger Reynolds, who, as you said, he's going to be going down there. So you obviously know he's going to be going vertical, and that's something that Steele Jantz will do. If you look at what Steele Jantz has done this year, he will take shots. He'll take shots into cover 2 when the safety's rolling over. He definitely will get out there. Let's take a look at the Texas defensive leaders. Oh, maybe not. Oh, yep, maybe we will. Defensive leaders, 2011 Texas football. Emmanuel Acho, 33 tackles. Acho's been all over the field and has 1 sack. Texas has not put pressure on the quarterback in terms of getting him down. We talked about it earlier, though. They've certainly put pressure on them and forced other things. Interception-wise, Adrian Phillips has 2. They have been great in the secondary, Ahmad. 3 interceptions in the first quarter really set the tone for that UCLA game, but Acho's been all over the field. The linebackers have been great. Keenan Robinson and then Jordan Hicks. I know Jordan Hicks is a guy that you've been very excited about as we take a look at Manny Diaz. But what stands out the most about Hicks so far in his sophomore year?
He's raw. And there are some football players, as coaches and as players, you look at him and you go, this kid he's gifted and he's supposed to be playing football. Jordan Hicks is that type of football player. You look at his size, you look at his frame, you look at the way he's built, and you say, he's supposed to be playing football. And what you like about him, he's got a nose for the football.
Sometimes those guys are all bus team, all airport team.
That
We've seen those guys.
Not this young man.
Not this guy, right.
And you like the fact that he's hard-nosed. He's got a nose for the football. And what I like about him is he's also a very intelligent player. He's a guy that is going to go into the film room, study a player, study a running back, study an offensive line, pick up his read pre-snap, and make a play based on that. And that is where you see skill also helped with your mental aspect of the game really translate to you into you being a great player.
Here's Michael Thompson. Thompson wearing number 7. We mentioned earlier, cannot wear number 26 because he's possibly could be playing some offense. And DJ Monroe wears number 26. So Thompson, a defensive back, but also played quarterback in high school. And this man can make you miss. He's got a lot of wiggle in his game. What do you see in footwork-wise? Obviously, Harson's looking at that. Footwork has been something that you see in pocket presence and footwork. You see in almost every Brian Harsin drill. When you watch Thompson, does he look like he could play quarterback?
Well, he's a DB. He's got excellent feet, and that stands out.
You have
absolutely.
to, right?
You know, to be able to run backwards essentially and cover a very good athlete who's moving forward, he's got that part of his game. You want to see him stand tall in the pocket and be able to throw over these larger offensive linemen that you have. And, you know, I would think, like I said, they're not going to put a lot of pressure on this young man. They want to work him into this. And depending on how it all plays out, you know, I wouldn't be surprised also at some point to see him get some snaps, to get him comfortable. I mean, why not? If he's on the depth chart, you have to make sure that this young man can contribute to your football team and add if that is the case. And he's a very sharp young man. He's going to be able to pick up the concepts, and they're going to keep it very simple on him early on. And he'll have to do some studying. Katie, there are going to be some times where he's back in his dorm room and he's going to have to shut the TV off and get into his playbook. And that's the part of being an outstanding student athlete that a lot of times people don't see.
Oh, it's already, you can imagine, just playing defensive back and trying to get Dwayne Aquina's system. And now, now we're going to throw Brian Harsin and Major Applewhite's playbook at you right here. You take a look at Mykel Thompson. We got more of the Texas quarterbacks and Texas practice. As you take a look at the bubble, Texas practice will continue right after this.